What's up, my friends? Today I've got a pretty honest and maybe hot take for Black Ops 7. This has kind of landed with a thud lately, being as a lot of people just hate the direction Call of Duty has taken, and I can't really blame them. However, after playing through the game, even with its myriad of issues, I did find some things that I did enjoy. Although, I must admit, those are far outnumbered by the things that I did not. So, let's start with some positives. I first started with the campaign, and the campaign itself was not bad. Now, I know that's going to be a hot take, and I totally get it, but this is coming from someone who has already accepted that Call of Duty is not really Call of Duty anymore. This campaign does not feel like Call of Duty in the slightest. In fact, I do think that if this was in any other game or if it was its own standalone game, that it would have a much better reception and would just make more sense and be easier to accept with its faults and all because it has a lot of good things going for it, especially in the gameplay variety of things and general design of some of the sandbox environments and levels. Some of these are very fun to play through. However, the moment you start thinking or using your brain in the slightest bit, and you remember you are trying to play a Call of Duty game, and I should probably say that there will be spoilers in this video if you really care about that sort of thing for this campaign, especially when the characters that you have spent so much time with over the course of so many games are just kind of being used as plot devices and less so as meaningful additions to the story. Now, they are used to even serve as a good reason to revisit some of the old levels of older Call of Duties. But apart from those member berries that it so graciously hands out every now and again, a lot of the new stuff in this is wild. I mean, really, really wild. Now, I do see a lot of misconception and shit like that that is saying that it is all supernatural. It is not supernatural. In fact, none of it is even real in the first place. It is one of those things. Everything in this is a hallucination brought on by a gas let out by a corporation called the Guild, who think that they know what's best for everybody. Your typical substandard enemy led by a, I will say, not so typical CEO, boss, enemy character. She was okay. I think she's the least offensive part of this whole thing, and she did well as a villain. However, the rest of the story goes in some seriously wild places. I mean, we have some dream sequence after dream sequence after dream sequence levels with some realistic things in between here and there. It's almost like the entire mentality of the zombies mode and how crazy and wild that can get just bled into every single other part of this game. Suffice it to say that if you did not like the kind of ending to Black Ops 6, where it just kind of jumped the shark and was dealing with a lot of introspective thoughts and a kind of dream world thing, this game doubled down on that substantially. However, I did enjoy playing through these levels. Playing them was an actual joy. There was plenty of abilities you can use, plenty of power ups and cool weapons and gadgets, and even boss fights that were, actually set up pretty well. The only problem is that this is a Call of Duty game. Like I said, if it was in anything else, all these things would coalesce in a much better way and we would be much more forgiving and accept them for what they are. But with this being Call of Duty, it is almost impossible to do that. And I really hope that in the next title that they can just back away from this craziness and just commit to being Call of Duty again. I think even things like Call of Duty Ghosts was better than this. And like I didn't think that was the best. I didn't think it was the worst. It was just okay. And overall, I still think that was much better of an experience than the entirety of Black Ops 7 is. Now, let's move on to the multiplayer. The multiplayer, when I said that the craziness of zombies bleeds into every other mode, I absolutely mean it. Some of the gun skins are crazy. Some of the character skins are nuts, and that is to be expected with Call of Duty nowadays. But even just on release, this stuff has just jumped the shark from the start. Half the operators that you can choose from are from the zombies mode and already look dead. I think the only positive with that for me personally is that I'm a huge fan of Richtofen, since Richtofen has been like in the zombies from forever ago.
All personnel withdraw. Trauma teams are inbound.
Yes, well, that was clearly everyone else's fault.
And you can just play as him in multiplayer, which was pretty darn fun, I will admit. But apart from that, that is basically the part of multiplayer that I enjoyed the most. This is still just Call of Duty multiplayer with some okay maps. I think these maps were actually a little better than usual. That might be a hot take. I'm not sure how people feel about them yet, but I don't think the maps were all that offensive. I do think that apart from map structure being fun, even a lot of the maps have a kind of aesthetic that just screams, this is zombies mode. Like, it's just kind of wild how they double down everywhere in this game with this aesthetic. So I don't even think I need to go into how multiplayer really is, because everyone knows what Call of Duty is by now. Everyone knows what the multiplayer is going to be. Except for here, it just has so many things that just, like I have said multiple times before, and I always will, jump the shark completely. I mean, you got rifles that can just see through walls and shoot through the walls. You got literal freaking mini Titanfall mechs that are just running around the map, just blasting fools. Nothing feels more out of place than stuff like that. And I thought like the dog was like the most offensive thing, but then I saw this dude and I just completely checked out. I was like, yep, this is Call of Duty multiplayer, but not good. So I did not spend a lot of time in there. I will admit, I tried using a bunch of different guns. They all feel really good here. The LMG, the shotgun, which I will say shotguns feel really good in this game. And hit registration is pretty on point. But like I said, you know what it is. It's Call of Duty multiplayer. So the last thing I want to talk about in this quick little video is the zombies mode. The zombies mode is pretty fun. It is somewhere a mix of the darker aesthetics of Black Ops 1 and maybe 3 with specifically more traversal things like in Black Ops 2's zombie maps where you had like the bus going around the circle. It's been forever. I can't remember what that was called by now, but like it just feels like a mix of all those with a lot more stuff in it. And like that is kind of the thing here. Everything just has so much stuff in it. And while that's kind of neat, after a while zombies just kind of feels overdone. Like things in it just seem like they've gone too far. We've got too many things going on and you can no longer just chill, kill zombies and just do your thing. You got to have 10 million things going on at once, upgrading things, doing challenges, your gobble gums, your vehicle, and if you're not upgrading the rarity of your weapons, the enemies will quickly outpace how much damage you can do, and they just start eating all your bullets, and it's just kind of over at that point. And if you're on the opposite side and you get certain upgrades, you can pretty much be invincible, like a dude that I found myself with that just would not die, and where everyone else in the lobby was falling behind and just having a struggle. Most of them quit. I stayed with this dude, and he lasted us till like round 35 or even maybe a little higher. I can't even remember at this point. It was like an hour and a half round, and this dude was just pretty much invincible until he just decided, I'm done, and extracted. And, that's fine. If that's what you're into, that's fine. But like for me, I liked having a simple zombies map with some Easter eggs, some weapons, a nice pack-a-punch thing, and then just go to town, with a circular arena or whatever. I think this is just so much funner when you don't have so many things dragging it down. And that's just kind of this whole package, really. Everything feels so overdone. And which is weird because this is only coming out a year after Black Ops 6. I would kind of feel like things are underbaked. And, some of those things are with some of the technical aspects. The main campaign, even if you're playing solo, cannot be played offline. If you stop playing the campaign, for any reason you exit, you're going to start from the beginning of the level again. No checkpoints for you. No pausing for you either. It's just such a weird decision to do for a single player campaign. But anyway, I just wanted to get my thoughts out there on this Call of Duty. I do think it's fun to play. I think if you're okay with how freaking wild this Call of Duty is, I think you'll enjoy it. However, for the rest of us, I think I am just more happy that Battlefield came out after playing this. So after, being in the muck with this game, I am going to go right back to Battlefield. So how is everyone else? Are you feeling pretty much the same as me? Like, it might be fun to play, which, Call of Duty has always felt good to play, but a lot of it just kind of went overboard and is no longer Call of Duty, so it just kind of lost me. Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. Like this video if you found this informative or interesting in any way. And hopefully I will talk to you guys later. Peace.